Well, you know, despite his army of grassroots supporters and a strong finish in the Iowa straw poll, the media is being accused of ignoring Congressman Ron Paul. Liz Trotta up next, and she sure has a lot to say about this.
You lied to me. I'm being discriminated. I'm being discriminated.
You know, he came within 152 votes of winning the Iowa straw poll, but the headlines didn't reflect that. And he and his supporters say that means Ron Paul, well, he's being largely ignored by the mainstream media. Is he? Liz Trotta is an author, journalist, and Fox News contributor who joins us as she does every Sunday with her commentary now. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning, Eric.
So is he being shortchanged?
Oh, well, yeah. And what's so fascinating, of course, is that all week the big story on Ron Paul has been that he's being ignored. And the being ignored story is the most publicity he's gotten since the beginning of this thing. Poor Ron Paul. However, you know, even the mainstream media, quote unquote, has a sort of slight reservation that, you know, I wonder if this guy isn't more interesting than we thought, especially since they see two of the so-called top-tier candidates, Rick Perry and Michele Bachmann, copycatting his position on the Federal Reserve. John Cass, a very lively columnist from the Chicago Tribune, had this to say in a piece about Rand. He says, Paul loathes government even more than I do, but his throw the baby out with the bathwater philosophy of reform gives me pause. Still, he's intriguing. So even a blind goose can see that by freezing Paul out, the media serves the political establishment. That was in the Chicago Tribune. And it is a question of, you know, that sort of shaky nexus between journalism and politics has sort of imposed their own narrative, as usual, on the campaign. And they did it rather early, as a matter of fact, and they've decided that Paul just doesn't have it. He's not going to be a winner. So why don't we just, you know, move on to our version of the campaign?
Well, that's fascinating because the Pew Research Center, which studies these things, they said that he had like 27 stories, and Donald Trump, who's not even running, we guess, had like 94.
That's right.
You know, almost 3 times as many stories. But then the AP suddenly comes out and says, once fringe candidate, Paul shaping 2012 race. So maybe they at the AP desk said, oh, wait a minute.
I'd like to see the rest of that story because everything I've seen out of AP or anybody so far, they are begrudging, I will give you that, they are begrudging in a way his influence that he's had on this Federal Reserve Bank position. And of course he thinks printing money is a very bad thing. However, he stopped short of saying that Bernanke was a traitor, as Rick Perry did. But the thing that has galvanized people, as far as Ron Paul goes, is the position on the war. And more Republicans are against these wars, I should have said. And if we include Libya, that's 3. And so people are listening to that message because nobody else is saying it.
And do you think that that will be reflected in the media coverage going forward?
I know the media hasn't gotten on the anti-war kick yet. They've bought all the baloney from Obama and General Petraeus that, you know, it's a little bit tipsy, but, oh, yes, we've done a very good job. Well, of course, you know, with due respect to all our wonderful troops, it hasn't turned out the way we wanted to after 10 years. So I think in a way that he's going to hit a spot that is really sore and getting more sore by the moment with most Americans.
The administration, of course, says they're making progress. But in terms of Ron Paul and the headlines, finally, just a minute, you could also have a headline that says Perry beats Romney or Kane beats Perry. I mean, how do they decide? Michele Bachmann won, of course, that's the lead. But how do they decide what's the second underneath story and what angle to go with?
Well, how do they decide? It's, you know, it's like designers decide what the styles are going to be for a fashion. Then they come each season. Then they all come out the same. Do you ever notice that? How do all the other designers know? Well, they talk to one another. It's the chattering classes. It's a sort of editorial myth that dominates Washington and New York at the time.
Yeah, they all decided at the Georgetown dinner party the night before.
That's exactly right.
All right, Liz, always good to see you. Thanks so much.
Good to see you. Thank you.
And that does it for us on this Sunday morning. I'm Eric Shaw.